We call it people technology.
That's that. Then Glenn Maxwell has made light work of the end of that innings, and the Royal Challengers Bangalore have downed the Rajasthan Royals. They won this Royal Rumble by 7 wickets, as Ian Bishop and Sanjay Manjrekar called it at halftime. And so did my husky on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout. Yes, they
Might
won.
as
They
well make
won.
his introduction as well. He seems to be a very integral part of this show, so might
He
as
is.
well introduce him.
Should I get him on? No, no, he's off now. We've opened the door for him. Right. I tell you what, there'd be a few howls going around in howls of victory in RCB's camp, and that of, you think, deflatedness in Rajasthan Royals. Points table will reflect that in a bit, but let's get back to how easy it was. Bish, and you expected it to be straightforward, the better team by some distance today, RCB.
No, that was a really good fight back by RCB, given that Rajasthan Royals were 100 for 2. Let's go back to the batting side. 100 for 1, which became 2 down. And to come back and limit them for under 150, and then to take apart Rajasthan Royals bowling in the way that RCB did, with Bharat playing. I've been sort of inching for one of the Indian batsmen to win a game. Not always convinced by the guys who they've not had batting on free. But I think Bharat deserves a lot of credit tonight. I looked at his face, right? When Virat Kohli got run out, I was watching intently of a television screen while they were waiting for the review to be done. And I could see the tremor in his eyes that, my goodness, Virat could be run out here. And then he went on to play a significant innings that RCB is starting to find a little bit of range, and maybe hasn't fired yet in this leg.
Yeah, it's a pertinent point, Sanjay. Teams that are looking good at this stage in the tournament, as we approach the playoffs, they start ticking 1-1 box with every game. RCB might have lost a few. They beat Mumbai. Now, suddenly, even KS Bharat is getting runs. So they're coming together quite nicely.
Yes, definitely. I mean, some positive signs there. Maxwell's consistency for this franchise is great to see. And in chase, it was always going to be, easier for RCB. They get to chase on the big night, they become a dangerous team. But really, when you look at this game, it was won by two bowlers for RCB, Chahal, and of course, when you look at the seam effort of Harshal Patel, I think those two bowlers got RCB back in the game. And at the halfway stage, when you feel very certain about a team winning, then as per my theory, it's really the bowlers who won RCB the game
Hmm.
today. And especially after 100 runs on the board in the first 10, the way, Chahal bowled to get Livingston out first as second wicket. And then, of course, Harshal Patel, another good game. I think those were the real stars for me. I'm just looking at Harshal Patel's uh, bowling numbers. Bear with me, a 4 overs, 34 for 3. So those were the guys who really made it easy for the side.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Chahal and Shahbaz Ahmed between them. Shahbaz with that wicket of Sanju Samson, you think, did dent that Rajasthan innings after the initial damage was done by the seamers, which again brings us to a point where there are many issues with Rajasthan Royals, Sanjay. One is also perhaps overlooked with the lack of their batting, the lack of quality spin. You've been calling for Tabraiz Shamshi as some sort of, X factor. They don't play Shreyas Gopal anymore. They don't play Mayank Markande. And they don't seem to, Rahul Tewatia doesn't seem to hold it on his own.
Yes, and I think after today's performance, they might be emboldened to leave Morris out and have a foreign player, Shamsi, as a replacement, or maybe Livingston as well. So they have options. He played just the one game and been left out. So yes, but that's one of the many issues for
Yeah.
Rajasthan Royals. One of the many,
I
many
mean,
issues.
yeah, imagine the thought of leaving Morris out. You thought after Butler, Stokes, and Archer were out, Bish, this is your one overseas you can rely on. But here we are with the Royals.
I think you'd mentioned it from times past, RK. You'd asked the question about spin. I couldn't see Shamsi getting in consistently in this leg because I thought Fizz was bowling so well. Morris is a big money player, and then you needed that other batting of one of Lewis and Livingston. Livingston hasn't fired. So, yeah, the way that Chahel in particular bowled tonight on that sort of surface lends, I think, the observation of how well he's starting to bowl once again and the value of that wrist spinner in this form of the game. So Sanjay is right. I think in the next game, they're going to have to look to get Shamsi in. How do you put your 1 point something million dollar player to sit down? That is bound to hurt.
Absolutely. Now, we discussed a number of Rajasthan's issues in previous shows, right? Today we spoke of lack of consistency in the middle order. We've spoken of the overseas players not pulling their weight. Good day for Evan Lewis. But Bish, if you look at that points table, it's not like this tournament was over for them. They probably had the four toughest fixtures going into this game. They also had a game against Sunrisers last time, which they really should have won. But today, it seemed like a team that was still in the race for the playoffs, because it didn't look like one to a large degree, did it?
But at
Bish?
least, look,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, I don't know if I'm still there with you, but
Yeah, you're
some
with me. Carry
positives
on,
to come.
please.
Yeah, some positives in it. Evan Lewis's form, uh, Yashasvi Jaiswal's form, Sanju Samson, we know is playing well. They just need the other guys, whoever the other guys are, to contribute with that. Fizz is going to give you X, Y, and Z. So they're not out of it. But if they can get, as you said, Sanjay, if Tabri Shamsi can come in and make an impact, the way Sunrisers Hyderabad kicked in with a win the other night, the way Chennai Super Kings finished last season after being well below par, gives everyone hope that you can find something at the back end of the season.
Yeah, but that's something now you think at best, Sanjay, would be somewhere outside those playoff spots. Probably 16 points is what will seal the fourth place. The best that Rajasthan could get to is 14. Just didn't seem like, I know you might be repeating yourself with what you might say now, but this team doesn't look like a convincing T20 side, does it?
In fact, Sunrisers Hyderabad is looking better at this stage. After the changes they made in the last game, dropped Manish
Yeah.
Pandey, Kedar Jadhav, David Warner. So I see hope with Sunrisers Hyderabad, but if they continue in the same way, especially with the selection and all the other stuff, Rajasthan Royals will remain in that bottom two.
I mean, it's that easy. Honestly, I don't know what else to bring up in this. We've spoken of Bharat and Maxwell, and we've had a real go at Rajasthan
I'll
Royals.
give you
And maybe,
something to talk about.
why not? Why don't you two do your thing again? Do the rally. I'll be the chair umpire, and you can
No,
serve
why
Sanjay.
don't I become the host? Because we sort of make a discussion with Bish off air, and he makes some very good points. But out of respect, I guess for ex-cricketers, doesn't come out with those points. But here, I would like to bring in S. Bharat as a candidate. And we were talking last year on this platform about having experienced first-class batters into the T20 form and not out and out T20 batters. Because when you look at S. Bharat Bish, his T20 record, strike rate is about 100. There's nothing to suggest that there is a T20 batting element to this keeper. But he's had 75 first class matches as experience. And look at him now, the kind of shots that he's played. You saw Wagon Wheel as well during the coverage, and I have not seen anything like that for a while, where he's got an almost equal distribution of runs all over the ground. So this is S. Bharat with no T20 potential or any kind of track record, comes in and looks the part. So sometimes, when you go for experience and success at the first class level of batters, they'll be good enough to find the T20 game. And the most important thing is because of the experience and success, long-term success, they will handle pressure better. So I was very happy to see the success of S. Bharat. That was the only thing I wanted to add.
Bish, anything to add to that?
No, no. On a serious note, I've got a growth mindset, so I'm always open to learning new things about the game and life. So I'm imbibing what Sanjay has said there because when I looked over and scrutinized Barrett's record, the T20 numbers did not suggest to me that here's a guy who can come in and play match-winning T20 innings, the strike rate and the tempo. I was looking and thinking to myself, privately, is it Mohammad Azruddin, who is also a member of the RCB lineup and the way that he's perhaps
Yes.
gone a little bit better in this format of the game. So I'm going to take on board what Sanjay says. I'm not going to question that at all, but just wait to see how it plays off. What I'd like to throw out there as well, Sanjay and RK, is that we have this habit, particularly in T20 cricket, of putting people, pigeonholing them into nice little comfortable compartments. I think we need to stop doing that. He's here for this. This is all he can do. He's here for that. That is all he can do. Sometimes players are better than that, and all they want is opportunity.
Ruturaj Gaikwad
Yep.
is another example, Ronak. Who would have thought, I know he got those 3 consecutive 50s and all that, but he didn't seem to have the power T20 kind of game. But now he looks the part.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's jury's out, right? Mohammad Azharuddin, we thought might actually be picked ahead of Bharat when a keeper batter's option opened up, but they went with Bharat. It seems like it's going quite nicely in a lineup that already has Maxwell and De Villiers and Padikkal and Kohli. So he's here to stay. But maybe I'll just end with a question on Chris Morris now. Big money signing, and it's no one's fault what money they go for at auctions. Auction dynamics dictate that. But now suddenly, with a big auction coming up, perhaps the dynamics would be different. Chris Morris hasn't played as much. He's not part of the South African T20 setup either. Sanjay, what is the future of Chris Morris, the T20 player in the IPL for you?
See, it is, first of all, it's not Chris Morris's fault that he went for 16.25 crores.
Absolutely.
He didn't promise, the kind of returns that were invested in him. It's just one of those, things that they call auction dynamics. And he was always going to be a support bowler to the Jofra Archers, and Ben Stokes was supposed to be a part of this team as well. So he wasn't a leader of the pack with the bowling attack, and I don't think he's qualified to be that. Because there's something I did in the break with our wonderful stats people in Cricket 4. And one of the things, Bish, I look at to see how good a particular bowler is, or how important he is for the side. I just looked at how many times Chris Morris has completed his 4 overs in a completed 20-over innings. And 65% is Morris. And I've taken the extreme example of Bumrah, who is your go-to bowler and somebody that his franchise will bowl 4 overs more often than not. And that is not a bad way, a simple way to look at the value of a bowler in the side. And Bumrah is close to 90%. So you can see that this is a bit too much for Morris to be in that role where he is the bowler for Rajasthan Royals, the seam bowler that they go to, like Mumbai Indians goes to. Bumrah is quite happy playing that role because he knows he has the ability. He also has that confidence.
Bish, Morris, the future?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal stat that Sanjay of creativity that Sanjay has pulled out there. So that, well done to you. I didn't see that coming there at all. But, okay, he doesn't play international cricket anymore, but that's besides the point. Was Jofra Archer supposed to be the guy that was supposed to lead this attack, and Morris was supposed to be the supplementary guy, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes,
on
sure.
that.
That's what they would have thought.
So,
Yeah.
So I guess, well, his destiny was in his own hands. If they decide, and you can't just continue playing a guy because he's worth a certain value or because his birthday is
Absolutely.
on a certain day. You've got to play a guy based on performance. So if they decide to put him to sit down, it is what it is. You've got to play your best team, whoever that team is, to try to give you the best chance of winning.
Yep, some interesting calls to be taken in what is already a tough run in of fixtures for the Royals. But of course, we must remember Morris has only joined them this season. He's 34 now. Last season, they had Jofra Archer leading the helm. They had some of their star players. They finished eighth, and they're not looking very good right now if they are to try and keep some distance between them and Sunrisers. So, yep, we'll see how it goes. But RCB look pretty good. Ian Bishop, Sanjay Manjrekar, this has been great fun. If only the cricket was as good as the conversation the two of you have had around it. But until such day, we shall wait. On Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. Always a pleasure getting Bish and Sanjay together. And do join us tomorrow. We got a big one there as well. Big one? You think actually it's not. I'm tired of saying all this, but we got Sunrisers against Chennai. Yeah. Oh, really? Not a big one. But it's one we have to cover. So join us for it tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
We call it people technology.